I'm Tony Scott with bnetTV. We are here at the mHealth Summit in Washington for 2012. I'm speaking with CFfone's Mr. Kevin Dawkins. How are you today, sir?
I'm fine. Thanks for having me here.
Thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate that.
No problem.
Absolutely. So, listen, for all of our viewers out there in bnetTV land, why don't you give us a brief overview of CFfone, what you're doing here?
Sure. CFfone is a mobile website that we developed for a particular audience of young people, adolescents, and young adults who have cystic fibrosis. It's a genetic disease. It's incurable. It's a very difficult disease to manage, requires hours of therapy a day, 30 to 40 different pills a day just to keep their lungs functioning and their digestive systems functioning and as close to normal as possible. And that's a big burden for somebody who's a teenager. They've just transitioned from their parents doing all this treatment for the first 10 or 12 years of their lives, and they really need to begin to learn self-management. But like many people who, when they reach their teen years, they think they're immortal despite having this serious disease. So their adherence rates fall off dramatically, and they have some other psychosocial issues that they have to deal with. One of which is isolation from other people with cystic fibrosis. For infection control reasons, they're not allowed to even be in this proximity because they run the risk of transmitting really nasty lung infections to each other. So many of these kids have never spoken to anybody else their age that has cystic fibrosis. So there's a Facebook kind of component to CFfone that they can access either on a laptop or a mobile device, where they can post things that's going on in their lives and other kids comment. And as one young person said when we were testing this, she said, God, I've never spoken to anybody in my life that had CF. This is really remarkable. So we felt we kind of hit that one out of the ballpark. But we also give them some tailored information about cystic fibrosis, what's going on in terms of research. We rewrite it so it's age appropriate. Any videos that we come across that have to do with, let's say, a young person that's done something interesting or extraordinary despite having CF, like the young woman who had to take all her final exams in the hospital in her senior year so she could graduate on time. We thought that would provide some inspiration for them. And they also have the opportunity to communicate with each other in an instant message way. We have a text message reminder system that they can use to keep track of their multiple times a day where they have to do their medications, but they can also use it for school events, social events, and the like. So it's kind of a package of features that we design to really meet a number of their identified psychosocial deficits. That's
a fantastic undertaking, and I kind of want to, from our audience to you, thank you and your company for taking on that type of project. It's philanthropic. I feel like it's philanthropic because it just sounds so giving. However, at the same time, you've created a business model behind it, and I think that is as well very fantastic, right?
Right, that's exactly right. We got our initial funding from the National Institutes of Health, which provided the funding for the development and testing of the program, the prototype and the program itself. So we're coming to the end of a randomized controlled trial, which is part of our requirement, part of that funding process. And our interim results are showing that it really is having a positive impact on the quality of life of kids that have been using it for 6 months.
I would naturally assume that with that many types of medication on a regimented basis, that it would be easy to have fall off. I mean, it has to get tiring after a while. So I could see that happening. Give me some sort of statistics on the results that you've had when in those processes.
Well, we have been measuring a number of outcomes. Generally, quality of life is an important one. Adherence to medication is another one. And their perceived sense of support from family members and friends, and also information about their emotional status. So we're measuring all those kinds of things and have found that their mood has improved, their rates of depression has gone down, anxiety goes down, their knowledge of cystic fibrosis has gone up, their sense of social support has grown dramatically. We're not going to be able to look at adherence data until the study's over, because we have retrospective data that we can access, but not until we're done. But we'll also have a picture of their health, improvements over the course of the time they've been on that, through the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, which maintains a registry of every CF patient in the country. And we, as researchers, we can have access to that, and we can see how often were they hospitalized, during the trial period as compared to the year before they went on the trial, and also what their lung function status is, comparing those two time periods. So I think we'll get a pretty good idea of what the effect of CFfone is on their health and their mental health as well.
How do you market a product like that? How do you obtain some sense of critical mass?
Well, what's the other data set that we collect is, other than the randomized control trial, is the activity of all the users that are on the site. So we track what they read, what they say, what they post, and what we are winding up with is a pretty interesting and intimate portrait of what these young people think and believe and how they behave around their disease. And that kind of information we think would be very important to pharmaceutical companies, for example, who are interested in deepening their engagement with what's essentially their next customer group, people who are going to decide which drugs to buy and whatnot sometime in the next 5 to 10 years. And to get an insight into what their thinking is, and they can use that to tailor their promotions or their products. But the other commercial customers that we're going to be looking towards would be payer organizations, insurance companies, because as the quality of their life goes up and their incidence of hospitalization goes down,
so
and
the monetary,
the cost of care goes down. So they're very interested in that. So those are the two primary markets we're going to be looking at as we transition from the funded stage to the commercialization stage.
So that was going to be my final question to you, is where do you see that in this next few quarters?
Well, being here is a big part of that. We're in the startup mobile health pavilion for the second year, and so we're getting to meet a lot of people who are very interested in what we're doing, including representatives from a significant pharmaceutical company who came up and looked and said, why don't we know about this?
Right, I was thinking the same thing. Why don't other people? Because it sounds very, as I said, positive in nature, but if you can keep those events from not occurring, as much hospitalization events from not occurring, then that cost continues to decrease, and obviously the sales would increase.
Well, that's what that's the plan. That's the plan. But I think what differentiates us from other similar programs that are available for people with cystic fibrosis, there are none specifically for teenagers. There's a teenage section in a larger website, but none of the others have really undergone this sort of rigorous testing that a randomized controlled trial is, to really make the point, okay, have data. You did this and this occurred. And I think that's going to be invaluable to us as we go out into the marketplace in the next 3 to 6 months.
That would make sense. Kevin, thank you very much for
My pleasure. This was great. Thanks a lot.
Good opportunity. I appreciate that.
Okay, thanks for your kind words.
Your launch. We're going to speak with Mr. Kevin Dawkins of CFfone here at the mHealth Summit in Washington for 2012. I'm Tony Sklar with bnetTV.